In this video, we are going to talk about 5 reasons why you're attracted to people who criticize and judge you. I am Pauline, and I am so happy you were here because as a fearful avoidant, you've probably experienced being attracted to somebody who was actually very judgmental and was criticizing you. And maybe after that relationship, you look back and you were like, why did I allow that to happen? Why was I attracted to this person? And it makes sense. So let's dive into that. The first reason is because the judging and the criticisms give you a framework of whether you are doing it right. And this sounds crazy because why would you put up with the judgment and the criticizing? But a fearful avoidant just really wants to do it right, wants to know they are doing it right. When they are getting unconditional love, that can feel very uncomfortable and unsettling because how do they know that they're doing it right? How do they know that that person is not just going to take that unconditional love away all of a sudden? There are no parameters. There is no framework. And so it just feels uncomfortable and unsettling. Whereas when somebody criticizes and judges you, sure, that hurts, but we're used to that. I'll get back to that in a minute. But we also have this framework. Oh, okay, so this is not accepted, but this is. Then I'm going to be the best that that I can be. I am going to adapt completely. I will be perfect. And somehow this gives us kind of a sense of control to have this framework and to know what they approve of and what they don't. So I know this sounds maybe crazy, but maybe you recognize it, that a healthy relationship can sometimes feel unsettling because there is no framework. No matter what you do, you're accepted, and that's like, wait, what? Why? How? But how can I be sure that you're still gonna love me then when I do something wrong? Because I don't know when I will do something wrong, and then it will come out of nowhere, and I don't want to be blindsided. Fearful avoidants do not want to be blindsided. And so they rather have criticism and judgment because that's direct, that's upfront, and you know what you get, and then you can just adapt. Of course, this doesn't work in the long run because somebody who is critical and judgmental will just always criticize and judge, even when you are being perfect. So in the long run, it doesn't work. But in the beginning, it can kind of give you that sense of, oh, okay, now I know what's kind of expected from me in a way. The second reason is it feeds into your need for approval and the high that your body is actually addicted to. So when we're used to this dynamic, you are used to working really hard for approval instead of unconditional love. And then your body can actually get addicted to the hormone cocktail that becomes released when you get that approval for something specific that you did. Whether you worked hard enough, or you said the right thing, or you looked the right way, or you did the right thing. So that need for approval is just, it can be such an addiction for the fearful avoidant. And your body is actually just addicted to that feeling, that high of approval, which can also be missing in a healthy committed relationship because you don't have to work for approval, and so that high is not as high. It's just way more constant and stable. And for a fearful avoidant who hasn't healed yet, that's boring because your body is still addicted to that high, to that hormone adrenaline rush. Then the third reason is that this is what you know. This is the dynamic that you're trained for. This is what I mentioned in the first point. You are used to being criticized and judged. I remember distinctly the moment that I realized in my healing journey that what my fearful avoidant parent did was actually criticizing me and judging me. And I never saw it for what it was because, first of all, I thought it was all my fault. I thought it was just truth, not criticizing, not judging, no truth. I was doing it wrong and I just had to be better. And also, they loved me. So why would they criticize me or judge me? I just could not label the behavior with those words. because wasn't that what, mean people did? And my parent couldn't be mean because they loved me. They sacrificed everything for me. They did everything for me. So it wasn't until I started labeling it for what it was that I was like, whoa, wait. Oh, and maybe it wasn't my fault. Maybe it wasn't me. I was just so used to that dynamic. I was so used to getting criticized and judged that I took that as truth from whoever criticized or judged me. So that led me to situations where I would date guys who were judgmental and criticized me, who were kind of mean. And that just felt like home. That felt like love. That felt like a framework I could adapt to. If I could just figure out what they wanted me to be, I could be that, and then we could be happily married happily ever after, live happily ever after. Well, that didn't work out, obviously. But the familiarity of this, of being criticized and judged, cannot be underestimated. It's just your body is used to it. You're trained for this. Your thoughts, your behaviors, your coping mechanisms, your protection mechanisms, they're trained for this. Your fear brain is like, aha, I know what to do now. Even if it's dysfunctional and toxic, that doesn't matter. I know what to do now because this is what we've trained for. And maybe now I can just be completely perfect and then I won't have to deal with the pain that I had in childhood. Yeah, doesn't work. And you can heal this too. You can heal this dynamic. You can heal this addiction. You can heal the familiarity of it and just release it, which is awesome. It's so great that we live in a time where we have healing modalities like the emotional freedom technique, where we can just use those to heal these things. We don't have to keep doing this the rest of our lives. We're not doomed. That's awesome. The fourth reason is you are either above or below. This is a dynamic in the fearful avoidant attachment style that I talk about more too. You are either above people, you feel better than people, you look down upon people, you don't feel respect for the people that, for instance, give you unconditional love because they must be wrong, they must not be seeing things right. Or you're below people. And there's a reason for that, which I explain more, but when you're below or above people, there's never the chance for connection, which is only when you're equal, when you're the same, equal. And that is the reason why you either place yourself above other people or below other people. And looking up to somebody has an added benefit, which is it allows you to let go of control because they know better. And a lot of fearful avoidants, when they get into a safe relationship, a healthy relationship, they run into their perfectionism and their need for control. When the other person is pretty much fine with everything, they feel like they have to control themselves, but they're so used to having somebody above them, which used to be your parents in childhood, that would just dictate what you had to do, how you had to think, how you had to dress, how you had to act, what emotions you should be portraying and whatnot. So having somebody, again, like that in your life who criticizes and judges you allows you to let go of control. You look up to them and they obviously know better because they're telling you that every day. And so you can let go. And to be clear, letting go of control is a really good feeling. It makes sense that that feels good, that you just don't have to control everything all the time and keep yourself in check. And because when they're happy, you know that you can relax. And then when they're not happy, you just work to make them happy, and then they're happy again and you can relax again. Whereas when you're with a healthy partner, there's just not really that framework like we talked about. I remember that even into my healing journey, I would be more relaxed when I would be around my fearful avoidant partner or parent. Did not have a fearful avoidant partner. I did have a fearful avoidant parent. And they were happy and relaxed. When I would go home again, then I would start to feel anxious and panicky because I did not have my own framework. I needed to have control. And I was so used to giving all of that power away, and when they were happy, that probably meant that I was doing it right. But when I couldn't see them, or I wasn't around my parents, then I didn't have that framework. I didn't know if I was doing it right or not, which caused constant anxiety. And so having somebody that kind of emulates that dynamic, or that figure, that role model that you look up to, it allows you to let go of control, and just your only focus is to make sure that they're happy, which is a lot of work, but it also means that you don't have to deal with the anxiety of not having that framework and not knowing whether you're doing it right or not, because you never really developed that compass inside of yourself. Are you still following me? So that is definitely an added benefit, and it can feel like just a break from having to deal with yourself, to be with somebody or have somebody in your life who criticizes and judges you. Yeah. The fifth reason is being criticized and judged gives you the most intense feelings. Well, getting approval from somebody who also criticizes and judges you, that gives a very intense feeling. And fearful avoidants put feelings on pedestals, and the most intense feelings are the best to a fearful avoidant. And you associate intensity of feelings and tension with love, because this is the dynamic you're used to. So that, working for approval and making sure they're happy and adapting, and even being criticized and judged, and the feelings that gives you, you associate all of that with love, if that's what your fearful avoidant parent did. And I know this just sounds so messed up. In a way it is, but your parents still are your first role model of love, and that will give you a lot of associations that also you can heal, and you will heal. But it's just very important to be aware of that. It's important to be aware of the fact that that's what's happening. So now, hopefully, you are more aware of why you're attracted to people who criticize and judge you, even when you maybe didn't understand it at all. This doesn't mean that this works. This doesn't mean that this leads to happy relationships. This just means that there is something to be healed inside of you, so that you feel relaxed in healthy relationships. And that's where you heal the fearful avoidant attachment style. You can do that through my own online program, Healed and Happy. You can find more about that in the link in the description below. So that a healthy, committed relationship feels better than any unhealthy, toxic, dysfunctional pattern ever did. It will feel like junk food compared to just really good, nutritious food. A healthy, committed relationship, when you've healed, just is, it's like the best meal, nutritious meal that you've ever had, as opposed to the junk food that toxic relationships were. It might feel good for a second, but then you're like not feeling good for a day or two. So yeah, I hope this was valuable. I hope this was insightful. Please share anything you want in the comments below. Share any questions you have around this, because I don't think I've ever heard or read anybody talk specifically about this, even though it's a real thing. It happens a lot, being attracted to people who judge and criticize you. As always, I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.
Healed and Happy is a tailor-made online program where me and my team personally guide you through healing the roots of the fearful avoidant attachment style.